假如书籍会说话，今日对话，偷书贼。
Teacher, if the people in the book can barely afford to eat, why would they risk stealing a book?
When the body is starved, the soul withers first. Stealing books is not about taking paper and ink, but reclaiming the spark of humanity scorched by the flames of war.
But stories can't be eaten like bread. Is there any meaning in such persistence?
In the concentration camp, mothers would break the bread in half, using one part to feed their children and the other to tell stories. Spiritual hunger is more deadly than an empty stomach.
But the perspective of death in your book is so harsh. Wouldn't that make people feel even more 绝望？星修正后的翻译星星 Q. But the perspective of death in your book is so harsh. Wouldn't that make people feel even more despair? The eyes of the reaper are two mirrors, one reflecting the flesh torn by shrapnel, the other revealing the reflection of a literate soul writing poetry amidst the ruins. True cruelty lies not in displaying wounds, but in forgetting the possibility of redemption. Is there any metaphorical significance to the fact that the first book the protagonist steals is a gravedigger's manual?
At that time, she did not yet understand the power of words. Just as people often discover the survival guide hidden in the coffin's lining only when burying the past. Those who learn to read death can live better.
It's not a time of war anymore. So what use are these stories to us? The Nazi book-burning furnaces are still burning. Only now the flames are disguised in the garb of keyboards. When you see the truth being altered by 140 characters, you will understand why the courage of a book thief is needed. Your depiction of the reading group in the basement makes me wonder, how does it differ from today's reading communities?
When a sniper is aiming through the window during a reading session, every word seeps into the soul. Today's reading is too much like fast food, lacking that hunger for words measured by life itself.
If I were the book thief, how would I protect the written word in times of peace?
When you realize that short videos are dismembering the art of storytelling, reclaiming your focus becomes the book theft of the new era. When catchphrases pollute expression, safeguarding your mother tongue is to defend the bastion of thought.
The book says that each bookshelf is a secret passage. How should we understand this kind of magic?
When you open Gone with the Wind, you can hear the cannons of Atlanta. When you flip through The Little Prince, you land on planet B612. These tunnels are never mere metaphors, but entrances to parallel universes more real than reality itself.
Don't you think the written word is in decline when even modern people no longer read paper books? The Sumerians inscribed words on clay tablets with reed stalks. The Egyptians wrote of life and death on papyrus scrolls. And now you swipe epics across glass screens. The change in mediums is like the shifting cloak of death. But what truly matters is the still beating heart of human narrative. Is the character's dedication to writing during lulls in the bombing a bit too idealistic?
During the bombing of Berlin, a group of students recited Faust from memory in an air raid shelter. 40 years later, they became the backbone of the opera house's reconstruction. The ink of idealists ferments into concrete over time.
Why choose death as the narrator? What special power does this perspective hold?
What moves the reaper to shed tears for humanity is not blood but stories. When even death itself becomes a reader, words gain a witness that transcends life.
How can ordinary people find the light described in books when faced with major setbacks?
Like Liesel reading to her neighbors in the air raid shelter, she turned her wounds into a source of light. The darkest basements often hold unopened collections of fables.
Do you think e-reading will alter the sanctity of the written word? In the age when medieval monks transcribed the Bible with gold leaf, they also questioned whether printing would desecrate the divine. What is truly sacred is not the medium, but the warmth of the hands that pass it down through generations. The book says that every story is a breadcrumb. How should we interpret this metaphor? Hansel and Gretel found their way out of the forest with breadcrumbs, while we navigate the fog of life with stories. The difference is that the breadcrumbs of our stories, after being pecked at by birds, may sprout into entire bakeries elsewhere. In the age of information overload, why should we read fictional works?
For 300 years, nothing grew at the site of the atomic bombing in Hiroshima. Yet a fictional pine sapling was found at ground zero. When the truth is colder than mere numbers, we need the warmth of fiction to thaw reality.
What lessons can ordinary people draw from the protagonist's self-rescue through transcribing books?
It's not about copying the Mona Lisa, but rather learning to rewrite your life script on the ruins of your emotions. The strength with which you hold the pen determines the possibility of transforming from a victim into a narrator.
What do you most want to convey in the scenes depicting the burning of books?
In the moment when flames consume the paper, the lead type breaks free from the ink and soars toward the stars. All thoughts that are burned will ultimately continue to burn as stars.
In an age of entertainment to the death, how can we maintain a reverence for the written word?
Learn to build your underground library amidst the bombardment of short videos. Like a wartime librarian, true reverence for words is choosing to read a poem when you could have scrolled through 10 jokes.
What deeper meaning does the ending, where the manuscript is preserved by death, hold?
Like the papyrus scrolls beneath the ash of Pompeii, all untold stories await their rediscovery. Death is, in fact, the greatest collector of stories, for he knows that destruction is the binding thread of eternity.
If you could offer one piece of advice to this era, what would it be?
Don't let yourself be reduced to fragments pushed by algorithms. Instead, become a well-crafted book with your own table of contents. When the world begins to burn the truth again, may you remember to hide the ellipsis in the ashes, ready for the story to continue.